Okay, we're about to make our first ever investment. Let's start building that portfolio. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Connor and today marks episode 1 of our brand new series, The Road to Financial Freedom. In this series I'm going to be testing out business ideas, money making schemes as well as lifestyle changes to test their efficiency as well as their reliability at making money and ultimately reaching that goal of financial freedom. The purpose of this series is for me to give you a first-hand view of what it's like starting off investing and to start off businesses with no prior knowledge or no skills in that area, and to explain how easy or how hard it is to make money with those methods. To start off this series, I'm going to be running you through my first ever investment, my thought process, how much money I want to put in, and my plans for the future regarding my portfolio. Before we begin anything, I need to say I'm not a financial expert. This is not advice. I am testing out a lot of these investment and business ideas for the first time myself. So please do your own research before investing your own money, not to put anything at risk. I will be setting up a stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard, which I'll be making the bulk of my investments in, which I plan to hold for the long term and to allow it to grow in compound interest. I chose Vanguard because I really like their index funds. They had a very low cost and their platform was very easy to use. I found it was very simple to make investments and to set up an account, and therefore it just made my life 10 times easier. We'll quickly cut to the computer and I'll show you how easy it is to make an account with Vanguard as well as make your first investment. So what you're going to want to do is head to Vanguard through your preferred browser, head to the Vanguard investment platform, and what you'll see is in the top right you'll see the button open an account. Select that and then you'll see a list of 4 different accounts that you can open: the personal pension, the stocks and shares ISA, the general account, or the junior ISA. We're going to go to the stocks and shares ISA, so we'll select that, and then from here you're going to choose the investments that you want to make from all of their list of funds. Vanguard have a minimum requirement of £500 initial deposit or £100 regular deposit. In the month leading up to my 18th birthday, I did a huge amount of research and I put a huge amount of time into learning about Vanguard's funds and understanding which ones I wanted to put money into and how I wanted to distribute that money across all of these funds and hence build that portfolio that I knew I wanted. Through this research, I came up with these 6 funds that I'm about to show you now. These funds are the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund, the Life Strategy 100, the S&P 500, the FTSE 100, the Global Small Cap Index Fund, and the Global Emerging Markets Fund. I'm going to quickly explain to you each fund and a brief explanation of why I chose that fund and how much money I plan to put into each one. So the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund is going to be one of my biggest investments that I plan to put the majority of my money into, along with the Life Strategy 100. This is due to the huge amount of stocks it actually contains. It contains almost 7,000 stocks, including low, mid and high cap stocks, and therefore gives me a lot of distribution across the market and hence will be beneficial long term. It takes into account developed and emerging markets, and therefore I think it's going to be one of the best investments to put the majority of my money into. Vanguard actually offers something called the Life Strategy Fund. They offer the Life Strategy 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100. These numbers represent the percentage of your money that will be going into shares and not bonds. So in the Life Strategy 20, 20% of your money is going into shares and 80% into bonds. Whereas with the Life Strategy 100, which I am using, is going to be 100% in shares and nothing in bonds. I've chosen this one because I plan to hold this for long term, 5-10 years in the future, and therefore I can deal with the more volatility that a stock has compared to a bond and the more risk that they pose. I'll quickly explain the difference between a share and a bond now. So a share gives you part ownership of a company, whereas a bond is a loan from you to the government or to the company itself. You earn money from a stock by its value increasing and then you selling, whereas a bond gives you a fixed interest over time and therefore offers a lot more security. So the Life Strategy 100 is a fund of a fund, so therefore it contains lots of different index funds that you'll be investing into the whole market. This once again will give me that distribution that I'm looking for, and therefore this is why I'm putting a lot of money into it. Now, one of the most famous index funds in the world, I'm going to be putting money into the S&P 500. This is an index fund that contains the top 500 companies in the US. It measures the performance of these top 500 stocks and represents all major industries. It contains stocks such as Apple, Amazon and Tesla, and therefore it's a great investment to include in my portfolio. However, it's only US stocks and therefore it doesn't offer as much diversity as the other two funds that I talked about, and therefore I'll be putting a little bit less money in than those two. Much like the S&P 500, the FTSE 100 measures the top 100 companies in the UK, so it measures their performance across all industries within the UK, and it contains stocks such as Vodafone, Barclays and Unilever. Much like the S&P 500, it's only based in the UK, and therefore it doesn't offer that distribution that I'm looking for to put more of my money into. So I'll be putting a similar amount of money into the S&P 500 and the FTSE 100, but it will be less than the other first two funds. Now on to some of my riskier investments. We have the Global Small Cap Index Fund. This is a fund that's comprised of small-sized company stocks in developed markets. This means it has more risk, but hence more possible rewards. I'll be investing less into this than the other four funds that I've mentioned, but I think it's a good investment to have just in case the market makes a good turn and therefore I can make a good return on my money. And finally, probably the most risky fund I'll be investing into is the Global Emerging Markets Fund. In this fund, it primarily contains shares of companies located in emerging market countries such as China, Taiwan and Brazil. It has a much higher risk and hence a much higher potential for rewards. I will be investing a lot less into this fund due to that higher risk. Okay, that's all of the investments that I plan to be putting my money into and a brief explanation of why and what they contain. Before we get on to the most exciting part of the video, where I'll be making the investments and explaining to you my plans for the future with these investments, I wanted to explain to you a couple of the terms that I mentioned throughout the video. If anyone was confused or didn't understand anything, this is the part for you. I mentioned I was setting up a stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard. An ISA is basically a simple account that allows you to make tax-free savings and investments. It was introduced by the government and means any interest or investment growth that you have is free from tax. It also means that investments you hold in your stocks and shares ISA are free from capital gains tax. The only catch, however, is you're only allowed to invest £20,000 into each ISA per year, and you're only allowed to set up one ISA per tax year. This means that if you set up one ISA in a tax year, you can't set up another one for a whole year until that year resets. If you fail to do this, you can get into a lot of trouble with the HMRC, and so I recommend you do a lot of research before setting up your own ISA to understand if you have one already or you set one up in the tax year. If you don't understand what an index fund is basically a group of stocks, which means when you invest into the index fund, you're investing a little bit of your money into every single one of the stocks. If you imagine it as a pie, instead of investing into one slice of the pie, you're investing into the whole thing. It offers you a lot more security, as if one of those slices of pie fails, you have all of the other slices to keep your investment up. Whereas if you're only invested into that one slice and it fails, you can lose a lot more money. Saying this, however, index funds can have a lot less growth than stocks, but can also have a lot less downfall and therefore offer a good investment opportunity. Once again though, please research the funds you want to invest in because they still can lose money. And finally, I mentioned about small cap and large cap stocks. The cap of a stock is very simply the value of all the shares of a single company. Okay, now for the moment you've all been waiting for, I am going to be making my initial investment. My plan to start off with is I'm going to be putting the minimum amount of £500 into each fund, and then I will slowly build it up over time, putting it into the distribution that I would like, so therefore having a higher amount into the FTSE Global All Cap Fund as well as the Life Strategy 100 compared to the other 4 funds. I'm quickly going to put all of my investments through, and I'll quickly cut to a graph of my distribution of all my shares.
A few moments later.
You can see here from this map, I have a huge concentration of my money in America as well as UK. This is what I wanted to have, as these were countries that I was very confident in. As well as this though, I have a lot of money in the Asia Pacific area, Europe, a little bit in Japan, and then a little bit other places such as Middle/Eastern Africa and Eastern Europe. Some of my biggest investments are actually in Apple and Microsoft, as well as index funds such as the Vanguard US Equity Index Fund and the Vanguard FTSE UK All Share Index Fund. As well as this, you can see that my sector distribution varies quite a lot, so I'm included in financials, industry, energy, technology, healthcare, just to name a few. And this is massive, as I wanted the distribution to be huge with these investments. My plans for the future are to have around £5,000 invested into this account within the next few months, and then when I do this, I'll make a follow-on video where I talk about my gains or losses that I make with my investments, as well as changes in plans for the future, as well as the investments themselves. And we're going to call it a day there. So if you did enjoy the video, please like and please subscribe. It would mean so much to me. But thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day.